Welcome to the Unobstructed Podcast, the podcast that breaks the division between business and culture. And now, your hosts, Colin Finkle and Edward Cervantes.
Hey, how was your weekend?
Oh, well, sucks it came to an end, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. No, good. The weekend was phenomenal. I have to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting the weather to be this nice, especially given how nice last weekend was. I thought for sure we would have caught some rain.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was nice. We had a few barbecues yesterday and on Sunday, so we had some family, some friends come over. But it was just nice to relax. It felt like a very relaxing weekend. How about you?
It was pretty good. So on Friday we had an impromptu. Like I knew I was getting out of the office early on Friday, and so my wife was down in Toronto for training. And so I ended up grabbing my son from daycare, and we met her downtown and went up to CN Tower.
Nice.
Which was pretty cool.
Is that when you called me?
When I called on Friday?
Yeah.
No, I think I was in the car. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we did the 360 restaurant, which was pretty cool, but super expensive.
Yeah. I can
don't have a lot of baller moments, but that was one of them for sure. But anyway, I thought my son really liked it, not as much. There was actually like a little playground at the base of the CN Tower, which is his favorite part of the CN Tower. And so I don't think it had quite the effect on him, but it was for me and my wife had a really awesome time.
Yeah, he'll appreciate that when he's older.
Yeah,
not when he's younger.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit of a push. He's 4, so it was a little bit of a push. Anyway, the rest of the weekend was pretty relaxing. Saturday we just had hang out. Sunday we sort of got our place up to scratch and tidying it up. But did some nice barbecuing on Sunday, and then yesterday we went out, played around for a bit, and then met Cassandra's parents for some more barbecue. So it was good.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Great to hear.
Okay, so what's our topic for today?
So today we're going to talk about what is personal branding versus corporate branding.
Yeah. And
not just simply what it is, but the difference in nature, the risks associated to it, what you think of personal branding, how one defines it. Because branding in and of itself, to me, in my opinion, it's a very subjective definition, right? I think if you talk to many, many experts, yourself being one of them, I think that everyone's going to define what branding is in a very different manner.
Yeah.
And there's different types of branding, obviously, when you look at a corporate level or a personal level. So I would ask you, I'll pose you the question, how would you define personal branding?
I think the Gary Vee's definition of reputation is probably as close as it is. Like it's not a new phenomenon. Like we've had personal brands for since there have been people, there have been,
of course,
personal brands like I don't know like this is the guy. If you need to hunt a wildebeest, he's your man.
He's your guy. Yeah,
he's your guy. So like and then the sort of breadth of that, of how many people you know that about you, and then the depth is like what sort of specialization and how that they know you for. Like this is nothing new. I think actually the corporate branding is the more weird thing. So if you define a personal brand as a reputation, then it's fine. But I think what a lot of people talk about when they're talking about personal brands is taking a very organized approach to building your personal brand and building your reputation. Yeah, and that is a little different than it has been in the past. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I would agree with that. Very similarly to how Gary Vee says that your personal brand is your reputation. and your reputation is your perpetuity of your foundation of your career, which is huge. So that's why I beg the question that the risk is a lot greater when it comes to personal branding. But the reward is significantly larger than that when you come corporate branding, right? I mean, there's a lot to lose, but that much more to gain when you have a personal brand. And you have influencers, you have individuals like Gary Vee, who's very outspoken.
Yeah.
You have other guys, I think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as another one, even though he's obviously known for his acting career, but he's always on social media. His branding with Under Armour has only just influenced his work hard, play hard mentality. And I hate to say it, but then you have like the Kylie Jenners of the world who God knows what the hell they do, but they have like millions and millions of followers, and they just have that personal brand that's superimposed on everybody. I hate to say it, but that's just how it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not too like. In both cases, they add their value, even if we're not in the marketplace to know what that value is. It's like clearly there's creating something, but I think both of those are an interesting thing to look at because both of them had their like a pretty well defined personal brand, but then they attach it to a rocket ship in the form of they got extreme promotion by something that was super successful. And then it's because so in The Rock's case, like he's always been pretty consistent about his personal brand and doing all of the outreach and fan building that you need to do. It was the wrestling first, and then the movie franchises that like rocket shipped him, and then in Kylie Jenner's case, it was the keeping up with the Kardashians and all the following. Like people essentially watched her grow up. Yeah. So while like the average person doesn't have the rocket ships, like you can definitely make sure that you have your ducks in order on a personal brand. And then you're talking about risk. So I think the risk people think of when they have a personal brand. I remember when I started blogging, my mother was like, I'm like, oh, it's only, I was telling her, I was like, it's only upside. Like you're like, you just put your stuff out there. Like people see it. It's like, until you say something stupid. And then, and I'm like, but you gotta get it. The thing is like, sure, like there is a risk to that, but I think the risk of not doing anything to manage your personal brand is way greater than the risk of maybe saying something that might get you into trouble.
Of course, absolutely, of course. And I mean, there was the one example that I thought of earlier when before the podcast, before we started this, was Logan Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously these YouTube influencers are huge now. They have a real reputation. They're creating an image, being these funny guys, trying to create a following. And one simple mistake, and it was a terrible mistake, not just simple, but shooting that Suicide Forest video that just ruined him. It's very hard for him to come back from that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not be the Suicide Forest guy.
Yeah, and that impact is not the same when you have a corporate brand. Like Coca-Cola's not going to care if they shoot an ad that goes, 50-50. Some of the public reacts well. Some of the public's like, ooh, that's a little borderline offensive. They'll quickly reshoot the ad, whatever. But like they lose market share to an extent, but they still have the fan base. So they're going to have people that love Coca-Cola. It's not going to be a huge impact. Whereas you are selling your image in a person, and you're selling yourself as a thought leader, as a figure that people are going to follow. You should do a simple mistake like that. The risk is a lot greater, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I guess the risk is like if you got a corporate brand, like if something, there's like I'm trying to think that Gillette ad, where they're being, I don't know, they're trying to redefine themselves and redefine manliness. That could have gone very
either way. Yeah. Exactly.
But the thing is like the Gillette brand will endure, and even if it didn't, if I got permanently tarred, it's just a logo. It's just a name. Like, it's not attached to a person that's going to follow them their entire lives. So it is risky. But the thing about these public relation stuff, we're really going dark early on the personal.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. People are like tuning in. They're going to be like, yeah. The thing with these public relations things is the outsiders and the people that look at it. It looks really bad, but these people end up doing okay in the end. Like the Logan Paul, like he lost a lot of subscribers very quickly.
Yeah.
He released an apology video. He took I think a month off. But I think he wasn't done. Like and then there's another example of this makeup tutorial person, James Charles, who was humongous on YouTube and had a essentially like a mother figure, Tati Westbrook, just savage him, and people took her claims very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to repeat the claims because he ended up disproving them, but he reacted. It was actually a poor reaction at first. He took a week. He put a proper, I think it was like an hour-long video explaining all of her things and basically discredited all of the things that thing. And he bounced right back and almost gained support and gained followers from the whole thing. So the people on the outside that are already primed to hate like a Logan Paul or a James Charles, like they're going to pipe up and it's going to look really bad. But I think with these people's core bases of support, it ends up bringing them closer, assuming that if they did something wrong, that they're pretty repentive about it. Yep.
No, it's true, and that goes very in line with what Gary Vee talks about. I mean, he emphasizes the need to always have a good intent in a transparent world. Mm-hmm. And he argues that you can't have multiple personalities, but if you can show your transparent self and you build yourself, and the more open you are with how you present yourself to the world, the more likely you're going to get buy-in from people. And it's true, and that's one of the things that I like when I you follow influencers and individuals that you read and so on and so forth. You don't really like to see the biasness and everything.
Right, the inauthenticity.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't like that. The more open and transparent people can be, the more human and relatable they become, and that only adds to their following. But yeah, I mean, it's not like in a corporate sense where you have maybe hundreds of people strategizing for a campaign or a movement or a new way to phrase a branding. In this case, you have an individual, a personal brand, which is essentially the reputation. But I think that there's a lot of risk in there, to put your name out there and see how things happen. You don't always get the reaction. Sure, it might be 50-50, but for the most part, it's not like you have a lot of strategy going into it. You got to constantly be open there and with your intent and your transparency.
I was just going to say, as long as you're, like Gary Vee was outlining, that you just try and provide value to people, entertain them, inform them. I think that the consistency and the authenticity will come because you're a person, and your authenticity, as long as you're not trying to put up a front, your authenticity will shine through. I saw a video of Gary Vee's where he was talking about how a family member of his, I think it was his sister, was starting into real estate, and apparently she really sucked at real estate. She like had been going for months and hadn't sold a single property.
Yeah.
But she kept documenting her suckage on social media. So and it ended up being she ended up doing really well on social media, but doing poorly at the real estate. I don't know if that's changed. If that's changed anyway. And you would think that that would be a net negative. Like if you're trying to sell your house, that someone would be like, "Oh, I'm looking at this person's social media. They're talking about how they just had another deal fall through. I'm not going to go with that." But it ends up being quite different, where people are so starving for that authenticity, because I'm sure that there's a ton of real estate agents who have deals falling through all the time. They're just not sharing it.
Yeah.
And so somebody that comes along and says like, "No, you know what? I'm not perfect," and then everybody on the other side of Instagram or whatever or Twitter goes, "Oh, I'm not perfect. So this is great." Like, and then it ends up being a real bonding thing, sharing both the success and failure.
Yeah, no, and I 100% agree. There's a lot of instances like that where you're like, oh, I mean, it's I hate to compare this to a situation, but it's like assuming that you're going to go to your doctor and assuming that whatever diagnosis your doctor gives you is going to be the right diagnosis, and having that confidence that they know that they're doing their job properly. Well, they're human just like us, just like anybody else. And I always had this conversation with people. I hate seeking or categorizing somebody as an expert. I don't believe in experts. I do believe in subject matter experts, people that know the content and the matter that we're talking about more than others. But even themselves, an expert doesn't really exist today. So I think the more down to earth they are, the better it is to relate and expose yourself to that brand. I want to ask you about one particular case, and I want to get your take on this. Colin Kaepernick. I think you're very well in tune with how his story kind of played out. And now you can argue that he's got such a huge presence, especially in the social injustice for African Americans. What's your take on Colin Kaepernick? Because he essentially left his football world in less than a year, and now he's got this. I mean, I hate to say it, he's not really a brand. Obviously, it's a social movement which he's trying to fight for, but he's got this whole relationship with Nike now, and like he's really gained himself to be up there now.
Yeah. So clearly he's sort of shifted his brand from like first string quarterback or second string. I can't remember. He was starting here and there.
He was definitely playing very well up until everything happened.
Yeah. So he switched his brand from first string quarterback to social justice warrior. And not social justice warrior can be derogatory. I don't mean it in that sense. But that's a pretty amazing move that I don't think many corporate brand strategists could pull off with any
That's what I'm saying.
Real brand.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that he has a enduring career when he didn't even play that much football is pretty astounding. Like you're saying, like he's not a brand. He probably is a brand, because like when you put up his face and the image of him kneeling, it means something beyond just himself.
Oh, absolutely.
And that can be a hard thing to. I sort of venture to guess that he's probably making as much or more with this Nike social justice campaigns than he would have if he was kept playing football.
For sure.
So that's interesting. But what I found fascinating is that it doesn't seem. I don't think it was very planful. Like we were talking about being deliberate and being authentic and going for good. I think he was just. I don't think this came from a place where he's like, okay, clearly I'm not cut out for the NFL. I'm outclassed. I'm going to totally change my image up here. I think he just saw something he believed in, and he went for it, and it ended up being something that a lot of other people believed in as well.
Yep.
And it worked out. But the reason I say it, I don't think it's planful, is because I think there were, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of interviews with him, but from what I've heard, he's not the best spoken person. Like if you were looking for a brand ambassador for these African American social issues, it wouldn't be him. But like, I guess he's sort of, the fates chose him as opposed to anybody in particular.
Yeah, no, and it's true. I mean, I would agree. I don't think that he knows. That's not fair to say. He's well aware. But to your point, to be the brand ambassador is definitely not something that he applied for. It was just more so he took arguably the biggest platform in America, which is football, literally the most all-grossing sport in the world, and he used that platform to protest and to fight against inequality. And it was really like, again, he didn't strategize. He didn't say, yeah, okay, I'm going to start doing this with my career now. He just took that platform, took advantage of it, utilized it, protested, and everyone started catching on. Everybody, from other celebrities, other athletes, and it was a huge social movement. Still is now. And I'm really curious to see how this upcoming football year is going to be now that this collusion case is over with. But yeah, then you have Nike that just came on, and like, again, I don't think he wanted to be the face of this social movement, but he is now. And to your point, yeah, it is a brand, not one that he wanted to create, but one that kind of just came together as it was, and he's kind of accepted it now. And I can't really see him ever going back to football. Even if someone were to offer him a professional contract, he's well too invested into this now that he's become the face. And it sucks because a lot of people now, if you ask them, hey, what do you think of Colin Kaepernick? Their reaction is not going to be, oh yeah, he was a good football player. Their reaction is going to be like, oh yeah, what he's doing is phenomenal for the people. I think his social movement is great. It's like, oh, so we're going to totally disregard his football career. Oh, I don't remember much. I wasn't whatever, but I do remember what he was doing, protesting the anthem before the game started. And yeah, that's kind of how things came about. And I think that he's so well invested in it now. That's going to be his image for the next couple of years for sure.
So this sort of segues us into something I wanted to talk about as well, where your personal brand and your employer brand, like, so the Kaepernick's protest was at odds with both the NFL brand and what was this? Is it Cincinnati that he played for?
San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah, it's the San Francisco 49er brand. Like the owners and the executives of the NFL, the owners of the 49ers and the executives of the NFL would much rather him have just all the players that took the knee to just stay out of it, to keep politics and football separate. Yep. And there was some really interesting stuff that I was reading about how I don't know if we have most of us out there have the luxury of totally defying our employer in that sense. So you need some guidelines around how to navigate your personal brand against your employer's brand. So there's another example. Sorry, I didn't share this with you prior, but oh man, I can't even remember it myself now. Rand Fishkin was this guy that did whiteboard tutorials about SEO for SEO Moz. Okay. Which is a huge, probably the number one website if you're interested in SEO. Yep. And his personal brand and the SEO Moz brand were perfectly aligned. They were just trying to show people in a approachable way, like what the news and what you need to know about SEO, search engine optimization. And so because of that alignment, his personal brand and the brand of his company both like took off wildly, and now he has millions of very like a very targeted group of people following him on Twitter. And even though he's moved on from Moz, which is now called, he still has like a very powerful brand. Like he has, and it's very targeted. Like he's the SEO guy. Like he's, and so he like the guy I was saying, like the guy that can hunt the wildebeest. Like this is the guy that knows the ins and the outs of SEO.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that produce content for their corporate blogs or their corporate podcasts or their corporate YouTube channels, where as long as you can keep your sort of mission aligned, you can really have like a 2 plus or 1 plus 1 equals 3 sort of thing, like where a real synergy to it. So if you're like a 9 to 5er and you're like, I want to advance my corporate brand, or we want to advance your personal brand, look at your company and what you can do, what content you can produce, and how you can put your name on that to extend yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. That corporate to employer branding relationship is huge. That's how corporations expand, right? You got to get the employees to buy into the culture, buy into the mission statement. And the best way to do that is not to necessarily restrict them to what they have to do, but enable them and encourage them to what they can do. And it's hilarious because this off topic, but the reality is you want to hire individuals that have you don't want to limit and cap them of what they can do. You don't hire people for their skill set. You really want to hire people so they can lead and show you things that you didn't consider as an employer, as a CEO, as one that's an entrepreneur. And that's kind of the beauty of it. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. You really want to have that culture ingrained in your employees and have them really just enable that whole brand through your employees. And if you can do that, then the culture is phenomenal. It's going to spread. You're going to have people speaking as we versus I. You're going to have somebody, oh yeah, we here at whatever company, we do this, we do that. They don't say I, me, and the whole mentality changes.
Yeah. I really think that we're in a shift now where for most businesses, creating content for social media and like just general purpose content is getting to be like you can't ignore it. You have to do it. Like there's no sitting in your office and just let customers come to you. Like you have to if you're gonna be an expert or be known as good in any particular vertical, you have to display that by putting content out there that puts your company pitches your company as an expert. And the general wisdom was that the companies would want to make it faceless for everybody, like have a variety of hosts for a podcast, or try not to invest too much in anybody's personal brand. Make it seem very corporate. Make it seem as coming from one like Borg-like voice. But that's gone. Now it seems like the only way people want to interact with corporate brand content is if it has a human face on the other side.
No, I agree. I mean, it's very hard to relate to any of these giant corporations without having that face of the individual who can speak it. I think that was one of the reasons why Apple grew to what it was, right? Steve Jobs was the face of it. Everyone was excited to go to these conferences and these releases of the new iPod, new iPad, new iPhone. it wasn't so much Apple. They were like, I want to see what this guy has to say. And similarly to Google and Amazon, right? Everyone follows Amazon because you got Jeff Bezos out there. That's his face is on it. You think of Amazon. Well, I can't really speak for the public, but when I think of Amazon, I think of him. I think his face, his image, and how it's changed from where he started to what it is now. And that's how I relate to Amazon. You know what I mean? I think that's how a lot of people try and relate to these corporate brands.
Yeah, and even if the end customer for Amazon, I imagine that the average person that goes to Amazon doesn't know anything about Jeff Bezos, but the media and the sort of partners that make a business successful are invested in these personal brands. So with the Steve Jobs example, apparently he had what they called the Steve Jobs reality distortion field, where you'd go to an Apple launch event and you'd hear something like about the iPod or the iPhone, and there were truly revolutionary technologies in there. If anybody wants to see a historic moment, you can look at the Steve Jobs keynote for the iPhone. But a lot of them were just different colors on the iPod or more storage or stuff. But he had a way to do these launch events, which is to press, to reporters and tech journalists, in a way where it got people hyped up about even the most mundane changes in these computers. It's like somehow switching from FireWire to USB 2.0 becomes the most amazing thing you'd ever heard of. And that's not possible without the Steve Jobs brand.
It's true. Yeah.
So I think that if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh no, it's all corporate brands. Your corporate brand is going to be made up of a bunch of individuals in your company that have their own brands and reputations. Yep.
No, it's very true. Very, very true.
And I just want to also address a typical concern. It's just okay, why am I if you're a CEO or a CMO or whatever, it'd be why am I building up somebody's personal brand, and then they could always leave, and then I lose all that value that I've invested in. And I was just going to say, I don't think there's a loss to that. I don't think all of the value of a personal brand leaves when somebody leaves a company, in that their personal brand and their magnetism built your brand as well. You've got the YouTube subscribers, you've got the podcast followers, whatever distribution channel that you've built up, and then people will be ready to see the next host or the next person that you're going to feature. And sure, that person may go off and have an amazing career, and they may be hard to replace. But chances are, you found them somewhere. You can find someone else to man the helm just as easily too.
Thank you for listening to the Unobstructed podcast. Links to the stories we talked about can be found at unobstructedpodcast.com. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you are a regular listener, a 5-star review would help us find new listeners. Until next time, keep breaking boundaries.